And we're joined on the phones by Felix Romark. He is a Ghana football expert. He was also a victim of hooliganism, and he'll be joining us. Also, he will be joined by Eric Alagidede. I hope I've said the name right. Eric is a football administrator and the former Inswatreman FC general manager. And then, of course, we have Harry Zakor, no introduction required, former chief executive officer of Accra Hearts of Oak. All of them join us on the telephone right now. Gentlemen, good morning and thank you for your time.
Good morning.
Good morning and thank you very much.
All right. Well, I would like to start, if I can, with someone who has experienced hooliganism in the past. Felix, tell me, what could have happened to prevent what happened to you?
Good morning to your listeners, Winston. I think that if there was proper match day protocol, especially from the host team. So my incident happened in 2017, and I traveled from Accra to. Am I audible? Hello.
Right. Say that again.
Yeah, I'm asking if I'm audible.
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. So I was saying that it could have been prevented if there was proper match day protocol, especially from the team that hosted the game on that day. And it happened in 2017. I traveled with a colleague, James Soa, to cover a Ghana Premier League game involving Accra to Folk and then Diana Stars in Doma. And in fact, no, for journalists who cover the Ghana Premier League, we have an accreditation tag from the FA. And this accreditation tag gets you access to the stadium to cover a game, and that excludes the inner perimeter. So for every match venue, there is a dedicated media, center for media men to have a seat and cover the game. But because we don't follow the right protocols, most of the host, teams or the venues don't have a dedicated place. So you just enter and find your way anywhere, then cover the game. But on that day, it was a very huge game. And when we got into the stadium, we got into the gate, showed our ID, and then we are allowed into the stadium. Now we have to get to a dedicated seat, assigned for media men. And when we got into the entrance to where we have to use to get a seat, we were told that we can't come in. And the reason being, we are from Accra, so we support Hearts of Folk. And I was like, no, we don't. The guy said, okay, the media area is packed. That's okay, fine. Then we want to pay for any of the available seats and go get our seat. The guy said that one too is full. Okay, we want to pay for VIP. And they said none. So all of a sudden, we had one guy shouting, these people are from the House of Folk fans. They want to cause problems. They started pushing us, giving us knocks. In fact, I was very, very scared. Lucky for us, the media, for every Premier League match, there is a media officer.
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
For every Premier League game, there is a media officer. And lucky for us, the media officer was able to identify myself and James. I was like, I'm sorry for whatever is happening. I want to sort you guys out. So we happened to, he in fact directed us to go and sit in the midst of the Diana supporters on condition that we are going to cover our face with either a shirt or whatever it is we have in our bag until the duration of the. And this happened, in fact, the time where we were being pushed around and being beaten and assaulted, it happened in the presence of the CEO back then, Albert Comey. He was standing right there, and we're even showing him our card. He said it is none of his business. So after The guy, even the media officer, advised us that we should stay in the stadium for about, let's say, 40 minutes when the game is done, and then we had to move out. And we did exactly that. And since then, I told myself that I am not going to visit a venue like the Nana Ajimambedu Park in Doma. And that same year, the Lenklen Stadium at Obuasi had another game. We went, and in fact, if you want to talk about venues that are so unfriendly, the Lenklen Sports Stadium in Obuasi has to be one. And whenever we finished the Premier League season back then, we used to write a report and then we present it to the PLB. Back then, they were running the Premier League. We point out to them every season venues that are not much friendly for officials, for the playing body, for supporters, and for media men. And you talk about the Golden City Park in Brekum. You talk about the Robert Mensah Sports Stadium. I don't know if it's a sports stadium. The Robert Mensah Park in Cape Coast, the Lenklen Sports Stadium, the Nana Ajimambedu in Doma. These were venues that every season when we write our report, we present them to the PLB. But it seems to do nothing about it. In Obuasi, we were actually saved by a Sujaman because he could hear us speak the Gan language and we're like, oh, I'm a Jagan. Like, these are my brothers. I know them from Accra. And they have to, give us cover and get us somewhere to sit at the stadium. So like I said, if there are proper protocol, you know that there is segregation of seats. Okay, you are a media person. This is where you have to pass, get to your seat, and then cover your game. Even with coverage of the league, media men are just treated like just anybody. If you travel and cover games outside the shores of Ghana, media men are provided with a very good access to a seat where they can have better view of the game. There is electricity, there is internet service. But I think that apart from Dreams FC back then when they had free internet service and electricity and food and drink for media men, there's no venue in the Ghana Premier League that have a very conducive environment for media men to cover the game. And it is because we have an FA that does not see media men stakeholders to the game that they cover. Like they always say, it is our association, it is our league. But media men are one of the main stakeholders when it comes to the Ghana Premier League. But we have to promote what we see. I don't think a Spanish media man who have so much interest in the English, but a lot of media men now in Ghana have lost interest in our local game because the conditions are not conducive or favorable for them to cover. Right. If players are and referees are being assaulted, how much more you a media man? So we have a media man. We have a long way to go, and I believe that for the FA, it is time they see the value media men, have when it comes to coverage of it. Let's put in the right protocols. If you look at what happened recently when Nana Pole lost his life, the FA came up with a revised security protocol. But just with a game to end the season, we also saw what happened between Nations FC and Bastake Holy Stars. Even with what happened, even with the revised protocols, the Premier League club decided, no, let me walk off the pitch. Let me attack supporters. So we still have a very long way to go. And my incident, I can't remember when I got back from Doma and I spoke to Godfrey Akoto. He said, bro, this is the badge of honor you get covering the Ghana Premier League. Wow. And he shared an experience with me. He was stabbed in the leg at the Golden City Park. He woke up at a hospital in Doma. And since then, he decided, I'm done with covering the Ghana League.
Imagine that.
I used to travel. Eric is there. We've been to everywhere in Ghana covering the league. But at that point, I said, already I'm traveling on bad roads, traveling long distance to cover game. I leave Accra to watch a Ghana Premier League and cover a Ghana. The road itself is not safe. How then do I risk my life at the venue I'm supposed to cover the game? And since then, I lost interest in covering. If I'm not covering, I do cover Dubai in going to a venue and watch a Ghana Premier League. So this is my experience. And it's not just Doma and Lenkle. It's happening around a lot of venues.
Indeed. All right. So for you, it's about the protocols. Uncle Harry, you've seen your fair share of hooliganism. Unfortunately, you were there for one of the worst days in Ghana football, May 9. When Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko, instead of having a friendly and memorable match, it turned into a bloodbath, and nobody will ever forget that day. Do you think we learned any lessons from May 9?
We should learn. We should learn a lesson, because I think what is happening in Ghana football now is not good for the country. Fighting, beating referees, beating the media man, I think that is not good. We should change our character and let Ghana football move forward. Because what I could see now, our football is totally down. The security, the police must be all around the stadium when there's a match.
Okay. Any other suggestions? Anything else we should be doing?
Well, we should promote our Ghana football, from the under 17, 20, 22, and the school football, we've not been doing all this, and that's why our Ghana football is totally gone down.
Some people also say that the state of our facilities, the stadia, the standard of the stadia, the state of the equipment and all that, is also dangerous and can also lead to hooliganism. Do you agree?
Well, I don't agree. Why? What is the duty of the police? What is the duty of the security? That should be very strong, Because if this is going on every time, if a match is played in Cape Coast or is played in anywhere in Sunyani and this thing is happening, it will pick up to another city again. When they watch and this thing is happening, they will go around and misbehave around those areas too.
Let me bring in Eric Alagidede. Eric, of course, you were involved with Nsatreman, and so, a memorable event involving your team everybody is aware of. Let me ask you this. If you were asked as a consultant to advise the authorities in Ghana, what would be the top 3 recommendations you will make to them to stop or at least reduce hooliganism?
Well, thank you very much. I need to correct something to your listeners. I think that I resigned on December 15th. The famous Nana Pole death happened on the 1st of February. So as at the time the incident happened, I had resigned from my position as the general manager of the club, and right. I was not around, but I had followed the event keenly.
Okay.
And if I am asked to make recommendations to the authorities, I think first of all, we need to take a critical look at the various venues that we play our Premier League games on. I mean, some of the venues are not up to standard. It's not even a secret. But once again, you would want to ask yourself, what is the work of the club licensing board and the club licensing authority? What exactly are they supposed to do? It is their job to make sure that venues that are licensed for Premier League games to be honored on are actually venues that are worthy for those clubs to use. But what do we see? You walk into a venue, the inner perimeter is so vulnerable that people can actually climb and jump onto the main field and cause mayhem. Why do you approve such a venue in the first place for it to host a Premier League game? You get into venues, you look at where spectators are sitting, you look at where the playing field is, you look at where the dressing rooms are, then you realize that in case there is a disaster, lives are going to be lost. So why do we approve such venues? So for me, if you go to countries like Ethiopia, we need to just learn from best practices across the globe. In countries like Ethiopia, the games are being played across about 5 or 6 venues. You don't necessarily have to play at your home venue. The games are scheduled at game centers. So if Accra, Kumasi, Obuasi, Tamale, and probably maybe Cape Coast are the venues that meet the club licensing requirements, let's find a way and make sure that if a team has to travel that distance, then you will have to add up to their cost and make sure you get them to the venue to go and play the game. It should not necessarily be that even when the venue is not up to standard, you still have to force for a team to play there. I think that is one of the difficult things we'd have to look at. We really need to take a critical look at the venues where we play our games. If we have to choose some few venues and use it for the league centers, then I think it will be great. Number two, I think we need to probably take a second look at the way security arrangements are made for our games, especially on match days. When the Foley incident happened, the clubs met with the Ghana Football Association, who are obviously the regulators of the league, and they came to the conclusion that, look, let's enhance the match day protocols. When they started, I visited the Legon Stadium. Very, very tight security. After week 2, I told someone, this is not sustainable. He said, oh no, it can be done. It can be done. Felix cited the incident that happened between Basake and Nations FC. As the weeks went by, the security kept reducing. And this is typically Ghana. We start something because something had happened. I call it the fire service approach. We wait for the issue to happen, and then we rush in to quench the fire without necessarily putting the right measures in place. Now we all rush, we agreed, let us agree to this number of safety protocols. Is it sustainable? It is not. So as the weeks went by, you realize that the number of security personnel at the various venues kept reducing. Then boom, we went back to what led to the death of a fan at Nswatre. So clearly we need to look at how we beef match day security. We can speak to the prison office. We can speak to maybe the Ghana immigration, speak to the other security services. If the police are not enough, speak to even the military. But they must come to the stadiums without weapons and make sure that at least we have enough security presence at the match venues to make sure that at least we curb some of these things. Number 3, I think that from my experience, having worked with various Premier League clubs, there is no football administrator who does not know the troublemakers at their venues. And I say this on authority. Nobody can tell us that you play at Nana Ajimambadu Park, you don't know the trouble causes there. You play at Bekum Golden City, you play at Nswatre, you play every other venue in Ghana. The administrators know the people who create problems for the visiting teams and then fans who come to watch the game. I think some level of responsibility. The administrators need to accept some level of responsibility and make sure that we allow the laws to work. If the laws don't work, you'll get a fan arrested, and the next moment, the people who run the club are at the police station. They are begging for him to be released. They will not allow the process to go through. I mean, people just do all manner of things and get away with it. But no one has actually tested the law to say that this man did ABCD, misbehaved at a match center. We sent him to court. The court has actually given him a sentence. And I would want them to work. There are so many choke begetters in our cities. I wouldn't want anybody to go to Sawam because you've gone to misbehave at a venue. But at least when we give you a communal labor for you to do for the next 1 month, I'm sure people are really going to set up and begin to do. So for me, these are my three advice that I will give to the organizers of the league. And I think if we are able to implement, there are more, but if we are able to implement these ones, I'm sure we should be going somewhere with the issues of hooliganism.
I want to say a big thank you to you, Eric, as well as Felix and Uncle Harry. Thank you all for your time with us. You've been listening to Felix Remark, who's a football expert. You've also heard from Eric Alakidede, who used to run Nsuatreman FC, and of course the legendary Harry Zakor of Accra Hearts of Oak. Right. Back to the studio where Fintuo Tahiru Fintuo of the Joy Sports team is here with us. I mean, that was quite a piece of work. I mean, the Haruna's production there.
Yeah, Mubarak did wonderful work.
Langa did some great work there.
Took him a bit of time to put it together. But
it's really
very
good.
happy that eventually came to life. And it really just sums up a situation that has bedeviled our football for a long time. And, you know, everybody speaks about why, or the fact that Ghana football, especially domestic football, has sort of taken a bit of a nosedive. It's no longer what it used to be during the days of Harry Zakor, or not even in the too distant past, like around 2016. We were still very much vibrant, and supporters were still trooping to the stadium. And games were live on television, and people enjoyed the football. Only about the last 7-8 years have things really falling apart in the way that they've done. And a large, a massive contributing factor to those, you know, to the dwindling fortunes of the domestic football, has to be these issues of violence, because people are feeling less and less safe going to the stadium. Nobody wants to take their family to the stadium because of a lot of these issues. Look, it's not the only reason our domestic football is dying, but it certainly is a contributing factor. You know, and you know, so that's chasing a lot of responsible people away from the stadium. And now even House of Oak and Kumasi Santiago, that fixture now can no longer sell out a stadium. It's crazy, because only a few years ago it would have been very difficult for you to get a ticket to watch House of Oak and Kotoko game, because people were scrambling. Now it's almost like nobody wants to go and watch, and part of it is because a lot of the fans don't feel safe going to the stadium. And just when you think that things are improving a little bit, then when you think that it is not imaginable for things to get worse, it does get worse. Like this season, I didn't think that we would get to a point where a fan would be stuffed to death. But it happened only this season. A game was abandoned in a penultimate round of matches. One game to the end of the season, with a team fighting for the title. They walked off the pitch because they said officiating wasn't great, and then, you know, the issues of hooliganism, what should have been and what should have set up a really feisty finish to the end of the season. And those storylines encourage fan participation, you know. But something like that happens, and it completely took the win away from what was looking like a very good end to the season. So I think that
it has an effect on the bottom line as well, doesn't it?
It does have an effect on the bottom line. So clubs are struggling with no fans, no sponsorships come, because no brand wants to be associated with you know, a league that, or a domestic competition with all these kinds of problems. Because when, let's say for example, you sponsor one of those teams, and then this fun incident happens, there's going to be a massive picture with your brand name on it, and the story, the headline that will go with that will not be pleasing. And brands don't want that, because brands want to be associated with only positive things. You don't want to see a story that says fans stabbed to death, and then they have a picture of two clubs and your brand name is printed right in front of their jerseys. Nobody wants that. So like you said, it does have a massive, you know, effect on the bottom line. So we need to address this much, and I'm glad that the guys have mentioned a lot of these, proposed a lot of these solutions. One of the things I always say, that the way we approach problem solving in Ghana is never being a lack of regulation or a lack of rules or laws. We have all of that. Our biggest problem is always implementation, and we are not necessarily very strict when it comes to implementation. That is the only reason some venues in the Ghana Premier League still host Ghana Premier League games, because we have club licensing regulation. If we strictly apply those regulations, so many venues will not be hosting games, and we would only be doing that in places that are safe and secure. But every time we relax those regulations, and then things happen.
Isaac Adongo said in Parliament, thought it fascinating. He said, look, we're a footballing nation and all that, but if we can't ensure that our venues are safe for football, then we have no business.
There's no point
in football.
There's no point.
Yeah. I mean, even one person losing their life is too much, just for the sake of some entertainment.
It makes no sense. And then we've used the same mechanism of dealing with the same problem over and over again, and it doesn't help. For example, you have fan violence marring the success of a game, and then the FA goes to sit down, and what they do is they find the club a mega fee. Right, they'll pay that fee, but then what happens eventually? The next time it happens, there've been seasons where a single club had repeatedly caused fan violence, beating up referees, and all they ever got every season or per every incident is just a small fine. Some of it like 3,000, some 5,000.
Wow.
The most you get fined is probably 10,000 Ghana cedis. That is easy. Clubs can't pay. The fines, the punishments have to be stricter. For example, and we also have a very routine punishment where we prevent clubs from playing matches at home. They don't care. You need to lose license for a long period. For example, if you beat up a referee or you beat up opposition fans or players, the FA should be able to sit down and prevent you from playing matches at your home grounds for the next 2 years. Because the financial burden and the cost of having to play home matches away from home alone will cost a million times more than that fine that they will institute against you and allow you to play in the same venue. But when we ban them for 2 games, 3 games, then they come back, nothing happens. Because those two games, 3 games away from home, they don't feel anything.
Yeah.
And you have to ensure that the clubs are able to put together certain measures to be able to get those licenses back. But there's always no regulation or no mechanism or solutions, or nothing is tied to the ban. It's almost like, let's punish you for 3 games away from home, and then at the end of the day we bring you back. But it should go with certain stringent measures and say, if you don't put this and that in place, you are not getting your home license back.
Coach, I don't know about you. I don't know what shocked you the most. Personally, I was shocked by the stories of female referees being attacked by players. I thought that was just beyond the pale.
Everything in that documentary shocked me. But my biggest shock is how we've not been able to organize the Ghana Premier League and our football leagues such that they provide the entertainment, they provide the wealth, and they provide safe entertainment. Right? At the moment, we don't even know how the Ghana Premier League is going to be this season. We've not been able to tap into the opportunity it gives us to create jobs and create brands. I did some mathematics with Fincho the last time. If we have 18 clubs, each club having 30 registered players, right? Let's even say 40 plus 10 officials. Right, if we are going to invest in these clubs, and we did some basic numbers, we can put between 20 to 40 million of state funds in funding the Premier League every year for the next 10 years. Right, that will be about, let's say, high end 40 million. That will be about 400 million Ghana cedis in 10 years, and create billions in returns for the economy. And sometimes I wonder the people who sit down to think about the growth poles in our economy. I see football being one of them, okay? And we can easily do 20 to 40 million Ghana cedis a year as investment in, and how do we do that? The clubs need money to take care of their players, right? So let's pay each player 3,000 cedis a month. You have about 800 people being paid. If you do the maths, 18 clubs times 50 and all those things, right? And this gives the teams the comfort to concentrate on football development. We develop players over 5 to 10 years. We will sell the players. We have sell-on clauses, and we can have a clause where the state also gets some money. Right?
Absolutely.
And if we are pumping money in it, there are some venues that are not fit for purpose, that we can say this venue nobody should go and watch football, no spectators, because the clubs need money but we are giving them money, so no spectators. Let the football action happen, beautiful football, and then we grow the TV rights and the TV game for the Premier Leagues and start making too many things, too many opportunities,
ideas,
right?
yeah.
So when I hear stories like the ones we've aired today, it breaks my heart that something we should be putting millions in the bank is actually causing us pain. So GFA, Sports Ministry, all those people who is thinking critically about reforming the league to give us the returns we are looking for. Maybe when you have time, let's break. We have some really nice
the economies
ideas.
of our football. We need
Let's
to break
do
it
that
down, because some of the venues, they even prevent broadcasters from accessing that. Someone has signed a TV right deal. They can't access a certain venue because the club doesn't want that match to be on TV, because they intend to do things that they themselves are not proud of. What kind of attitude is this?
Yeah, shocking. All right, listen, it's time we stop being out for it for ourselves and did what is necessary for the beautiful game. Thank you, Fentu, for your time. Thanks to your team for this great piece of work. And, of course, thanks to you who have been listening all this time.